We're living in times of great anxiety and depression. What can the Hebrew Bible teach us about igniting the light of our souls and overcoming this in our day and age? Hello YouTube, my name is Abraham Dawn. I'm a student and a teacher of Jewish thought and spirituality based in Jerusalem, Israel, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about this week's portion or weekly reading of the Torah, the Hebrew Bible. Our portion, בהעלותך, begins with a description of the menorah, the chandelier that was placed in the temple when it was existent in Jerusalem. And it begins with this curious addition to the commandment of lighting the candles, where Moses tells Aaron, his brother, the high priest, that when he ignites the candles, when he raises their flame, he should make them all face the center of the menorah, all face the center of the chandelier. If you've seen these pictures, this chandelier, this menorah, looks like one stem from which 6 branches stem, all in all 7, and on the top of them are the candles. And this commandment says that the candles must all face the middle when the high priest lights them. So, what is the spiritual meaning of this? Is it just something ordinary? Or is there some deeper meaning to what is going on here? This high priest lighting the candles. So, the inner teachings of Kabbalah and Judaism tell us that these candles are actually representatives of our souls. Each one of us is like a candle. There's this verse in the book of Proverbs that says that a man's soul is like a candle. It's like God's candle. And a man must keep his candle burning, alight. He must keep his flame alive. But we all know that this is not always the case. Sometimes our candles kind of burn out. We face this burnout, so to speak. And we have a very hard time overcoming the ashes and the sadness and the darkness of our world. So I think what the Torah is saying here is that if we can't light our own candle, if we can't keep our own flame alive, the high priest must come, and I'll say ahead of time, this high priest can be anyone. We can all be the high priest. We can all act as the high priest for one another. So the high priest must come and actually light up this person's light, this person's soul. We have 7 candles on the chandelier. Each one of them is an individual soul. And the job, the purpose of the high priest is to have these candles light up, raise up, as the Torah calls it, raise the flame and let them light, and let the light shine forth. Rabbi Nachman of Breslev was a very dominant, very important and interesting Hasidic master. Also said that if a person finds himself in a time of desperation, in a time of need, his ego, his mind is going in circles, thinking how sad his life is and how terrible everything is. We all know these states. We're all in these states very often. So what Rabbi Nachman is telling us is that the best thing one can do to exit the state, to get out of it and go back to happiness, is actually to light to someone else, to give his light to someone else. It's actually to help another person in trouble. It could be physical trouble or a mental dis-ease like his. But if you reach out your hand and try to help someone else, rather than dwelling on your own miscomings or shortcomings and how terrible your life is and how terrible you are, you stop dealing with that. You stop trying to answer this voice in your mind, and you stop trying to find the way out, and instead just go completely out and help somebody else. And like magic, and I've tried this, it's true, it's very possible, even very probable, that you'll suddenly find yourself back in happiness and light and so on. Because when a person comes out of himself, it's called bitul in our sources, a person gets out of his own ego, gets out of his own dwelling on his own personal life and personal problems, and actually goes out and does actual something good for someone, helps someone else in need. So automatically this mind-ego thingy can't continue going on. And then he's connected to the light of God, because the light of God is giving. And when you're giving to someone else, helping someone else, or and giving your hand to someone else who is in trouble, you're actually acting like God. And then you're connected to God's light, to God's essence, and your light burns forth. So I think this is what the Torah is telling us. If a person has his flame down, someone else should help him. If a person himself has his flame down, he can help someone else. And then they both ignite and burn, in the positive sense. But there's addition to this in the oral Torah, the oral teaching, which is a tradition that also passed down from Moses, from God through Moses, up to the sages and up to us, which says that this candle lighting, when the Kohen, the priest, does it, he must ignite the light until the light shines in and of itself. In Hebrew, it's called Ad sheteheh shalhevet ola me'elea, meaning he has to keep the flame, the torch, inside the candle place until the candle can go up on its own accord and doesn't need his help anymore. And this is also very significant because it means each one of us is an individual, then each one of us has his own light. We don't only need the high priest or the high religious figure or our model or whoever it is to give us meaning and life and light. Sometimes, as an accident, something non-consistent, but sometimes we need the help. We need someone else to light us up for us. But he must do this, the conscious high priest, the person who has his mind in the right place, does this only up till he sees that the person can now light in and of themselves. He doesn't need the help anymore. Because each one of us has his own essence, his own special light, and the light of each one of us is different, and we need all these lights together. So I must ignite my friend's light until he can do it by himself. He doesn't stay dependent upon me forever. And I think this is very significant and meaningful. But there's another commandment. As we said, the main commandment is to light all these candles facing the middle. So what is this actually trying to tell us? How is this trying to aid our life and guide us? I believe what the Torah is saying here, what the Hebrew Bible is teaching us here, is that we all have our individual lights true, and we all shine our individual lights. We all have our own donation to the world, our own contribution, our own special character, which cannot be copied and will never ever return again, and no one else can do our job for us. All this is true. But in a deeper sense, we are all working together. And there's this deeper connection to the collective. I think the candle representing the individual soul, and the 7 candles burning together representing the bigger light that we all stem forth together. And the chandelier itself, on which these candles stand, is signifying our deeper sources, which is our connection to the collective. We are all part of something bigger. We are all part of general humanity. We are all part of the Jewish people. And we are all part of the greater whole, which is divinity at large, expressing itself in the world. So as long as I'm focusing on my own ego, of course I'm lost. But also as long as I'm focusing on my own individual light, my own individual spiritual progress, my own individual development, my own individual self-expression, spiritual expression, these are great and wonderful things. But it's still not the tachlis, as we say in Hebrew. It's still not the essence. It's still not the end. So we must progress forward and move to our connection to the collective, or actually deepen to our connection to the collective. And all these 7 candles, all these different lights shining together, all face the central chandelier, the central menorah, and actually gain their light from it, or light their light to it, in a way. El mul pnei menorah ya'iru shivat hanerot. And I think this is also trying to tell us a very powerful way of getting out of depression, and getting out of anxiety, getting out of these chronic thoughts and these bad feelings, which is to realize that my life is just my life. True, it is where it is. I'm not saying that I don't have the things I don't have. I'm not saying that I have the things I don't have. I'm not saying that there are no trouble. I'm not saying that all this is false. But it can gain great perspective and actually ease off almost and eliminate all the pain if I remember that I'm part of a greater whole. And I'm serving the greater whole. I'm working for the greater whole, which I'm also a part of. So it's not self-annihilation. Rather, it's remembering what the truth, that really I'm part of something great. I'm part of something big. And also this big, great something, which is the collective, which we are part of, is something that needs me. It needs my help. It needs my prayer. It needs my hope. And when I do this, I stop seeing life from a very, very short-sighted and narrow-sighted point of view, and I see life as it is, grand. And I'm part of this. I actually exit my own being. I go out. I expand out of this own individual ego thing and remember the truth that this is a much bigger story. So this is the commandment, to raise the lights facing the chandelier. Now, the person does this as the high priest, but as I said, it can be any of us. We all have this priestly quality in us, which is actually the quality of the tzaddik. The tzaddik is a Hebrew term meaning the righteous. And, originally it just meant someone who's doing the right thing, who's just, who tries to keep his mind on truth, who tries always to act morally. And this is all true. But this same moral effort, strive to do the right thing, striving to do the right thing, also has a deeper meaning in mysticism, in Jewish mysticism, which is Kabbalah. And here it comes to mean that actually a person who does this, a person who is righteous and just, is an axis mundi. He is a pillar connecting the sky, the heavens, and the earth. So this might seem like very big, but actually what it is saying is that there's a potential divine quality in each and every one of us. There's quality for righteousness, there's quality for true humanship, for true humanity, for true humanism, call it what you may. In Yiddish it's called Menschlichkeit. Menschlichkeit means you are a man, you are a person, you are a human being. Just by acting in the right manners, being nice to your friends, smiling at people who need you, not stealing, not lying, all these very, very basic things are actually the deepest, most divine aspects of our humanity. And inside humanity indwells the divine aspect of the good, the absolute blessing. So this high priest is the Kohen. Actually, what the Torah is telling us here is that we should believe that there actually are people who do this. There actually are people who achieve this. Not every guru is a guru you should follow. Not every spiritual leader can be counted on. There are liars. There are people who make mistakes. And also there are people who are good people and also make mistakes. It's not clear cut. But in general, the Torah is telling us you should believe that this quality exists and you should look for it, both in yourself and in people who have fully realized it, which is the Kohen, the high priest. So, just a final thought to wrap this all up. After the Torah goes into saying all this, how the high priest should light the candles, and the exact details of how to do it, which as we saw have great significance for our own lives and souls, the Torah goes on to say that the chandelier, the menorah, was all one piece. In Hebrew, in biblical Hebrew actually, it's called miksha. It was all one piece. It was a very complicated piece of art. It had many decorations, it had flowers, and it had these little cups, and it had rimonim, which are pomegranate shapes, and so on and so forth, but it was all made of one piece. One piece of gold was melted and shaped into this very, very complicated piece of work, rather than sticking a lot of different things together. And that's what the Torah tells us that the chandelier had to be. And it also goes out to say that it was exactly like the vision that Moses saw from God. That's the exact way that he made the chandelier. So why is this so significant? I think what the Torah is trying to tell us here is that there's unity in the world. And even though we see a lot of different things, a lot of different pieces all coming together, we shouldn't think that it's just a mix and match, God or nature or whatever, people stumbling and hurling things together. Rather, what it's trying to tell us is that there's real unity in the world. We are all part of one thing. There's an organic whole. And this word wholeness, in Hebrew, it's tmimut. And tmimut also means naivety. So if we want to approach kedusha, if we want to approach holiness, we should also approach it through holiness, through seeing things as one whole, one simple, unified, undivided whole, even though it has all these many different details. Like we said, each one of us is different. We're all a certain decoration on this great piece of art, which is the existence of the world, which is the holiness in the world, which is the divine aspect, manifesting and expressing itself as reality. So we're each a different kind of decoration, but on a deeper level of thinking, it's just one whole piece that comes directly from heaven as is. And I think this is what this is trying to tell us, is that we should believe, even if it's hard to see, and even if we often feel far away from it, it's very helpful for our everyday lives. And it's also true to believe that there is this aspect of naivety, of simpleness, of beauty, of wholeness. I'd even say of perfection in the world. Tmimut, that word is usually translated perfection, but it doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you have to be whole. So in believing that this aspect of holiness exists, it exists in us, it exists in the world, it exists in God, and it exists in the other, in our friends, in our teachers. By looking for this aspect of righteousness, by believing that it's there and trying to connect to it, we're actually fulfilling this commandment of lighting up the chandelier. And this can help us get out of our ashes and burnt oil of decay and light up our souls. So if you kind of like this kind of contents, please like and subscribe. I will try sharing one of these every week. I hope I manage to do it with the help of God. And have a great week, and may God be with the light of inside each and every one of you, and may we all reach together to the light.